Very much for joining us, Candice. Just broadly speaking, what constitutes an informal trader?
Well, when you look at the formal business sector, you're looking at people who register their businesses. You have PTY limiteds, big corporations. You have employees who are registered to pay income tax and registered for UIF with the Department of Labour. Now, when you look at the informal sector, it's really your homegrown industry. The person who decides they're going to start selling the basic amenities, bread, milk, cold drink from their houses. Then you extend that to the foreigners who are here, who have started their shop selling groceries or textiles. These businesses are not registered in terms of the Business Act because you have to comply with certain requirements, and they don't need to because of the criteria. So your informal business is really your business that has less than 5 employees and it does not fall within the formal structure that's required for registration.
Now, just alluding to the insert that we were watching just now, what are the rights, the legal rights of an informal trader?
Actually, informal traders or in the employment sector, they have, as long as they have a license to trade, which they can apply in terms of the Business Act, they are protected by that license. So they can actually trade, sell their wares, and there's licenses for selling food, for trading as a hawker, for selling vegetables. So there's all types of licenses that they can apply for through the municipality. And once they have that license, they ought to be protected by it. So when you look at the difficulty that's coming up, especially with the clip that we saw now, is what rights do they have? Does that license really protect them? And what's happened is that every foreigner who's in South Africa, who's trading, has the same rights as the South African trader. And specifically, what's come up with the court case 2 weeks ago was that the Supreme Court of Appeal actually clarified that and made it quite certain that foreigners who are asylum seekers and migrant workers and refugees here should actually be allowed to trade, because it's a promotion of their right to dignity.
And you know, there's often quite a bit of tension in the communities, particularly with foreign people running spaza shops and all of that. Does that actually assist in alleviating that tension that's there already?
Well, I think we need to really educate people in South Africa. As far back as 2007, our Constitutional Court said that foreigners have exactly the same rights as South Africans, except where there's certain rights reserved for South Africans. When we look at the trading issue, you know, our government has, in this particular case, actually argued that Section 22 says every citizen has the right to choose their trade, occupation and profession. And so that was a limitation. And if you look at the facts of the case, the police were actually going to the foreign traders and saying, you're not allowed to trade, you have no rights, you must leave the Messina municipality. The appeal court came back and said, no, that's actually not right. There's no limitation in our constitution for foreigners to trade. And it is actually promoting their right to dignity. And what that translates to is that our South African public needs to embrace this concept. You can't be xenophobic about it. Growing the informal sector is a huge economic growth for the country. Right now, we're experiencing about this 7 billion rand industry contributes about 6.6% to our GDP. So what we're looking at when we looked at the State of the Nation, State of the Province addressed by David Makura, he said that he's looking to rapidly boost, especially Gauteng's economic development, and he's looking for this particular sector, the informal sector with your spaza shops and businesses, to contribute 30% to our GDP. So I think that's the way. It does not help the situation, but I think with our South African public understanding that foreigners who are trading here are not actually taking anything away from them, it's actually adding to our economy.
And lastly, at what point do you stop being an informal trader, and should you really be participating in the formal economy, because otherwise it means the fiscus isn't getting money it should be getting?
Well, ironically, some of the businesses are actually quite large enough to be formalized. Now, when you look at it, if you look at the Income Tax Act, for example, it says if you earn less than 60,000 Rand a year, you don't have to register for income tax. So a lot of businesses, foreign and South Africans alike, are flying under the radar because they're not properly declaring how much revenue they're actually making. So a good way to counter that is, when applying for business licenses in the informal sector, is to make it a requirement for the trader to have an income tax number, because in that way it ensures compliance. So it may not be that the trader would get to the threshold necessary to formalize, but at least there is a compliance with the Income Tax Act that you can actually check on to see whether the revenue stream is improving or not.
Thank you very much for your time, Candice. That was Candice Pillay. She's a partner at law firm Hogan Lovells.